Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And welcome to The Infinite Way, where spirituality meets humanity. And it brings me great pleasure to introduce to you Reverend Joslyn Farray Pierre. Welcome, Reverend Joslyn.
Oh, thank you, Nolan.
I'd like to introduce Reverend Joslyn Pierre. Reverend Joslyn Farray Pierre, the Intuitive Wellbeing Educator, is an ordained minister, a metaphysician, Integrative Nutrition Health Coach, international award public speaker, and author. A proud mom of two, one since passed. Her work as an educator and administrator within the Caribbean spans over 3 decades in Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago. She is the past country chair and advisory council member for G100, president of WICCI Trinidad Chapters, and served as an ambassador of peace, health and wellness and well-being to serve local and international NGOs. She is the founder of the Intuitive Wellbeing Institute and creator of Sacred Spa, a metaphysical, educational, self-healing and empowerment school and home-based center, where she caters to heart-centered leaders and small business owners, helping them lead with intuitive intelligence, de-stress, and build skills to lead healthy lives. Reverend Joslyn's focus is to be of service to women who are transitioning or going through rock bottom moments by teaching, coaching, and counseling on taking care of their body, mind, and spirit to nourish, heal, maintain, and own their personal power, seeing wholeness through sacred self-care practices. Welcome, Reverend Pierre. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's such a pleasure to be on here with you.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And knowing so much about you and knowing that you're a healer, a counselor, a coach, all these things, so many beautiful things. The first question I want to ask you is, what set you on the path? What set you on the path?
What set me on? I think it's from day one, from the beginning of my life, my interaction with my great-grandmother, my mom. I think that is what truly got me on my path. Listening to my grandma, with her prayers, doing her religious rituals. I think one of the most important things for me also was mealtime with my mom and how she gathered the family around. My father, my sisters, anyone who was at the home. We had to sit for at least one meal together as a family, do the daily word, pray over a meal, and of course we'll have a little family discussion. So that was what started it for me. And of course later on I wanted to explore because we were heavily steeped in religion for quite a long time. And even within that, I was able to develop a relationship with God. And it was because of my relationship with God then, in terms of that spiritual path, I realized that religion was just a way of getting people together with like-mindedness to serve, rather than where some religion would talk about, oh, they are the one and only true religion. So I used to be caught up in that. At one time, I remember going to one sect and felt that was the one true thing. And then I went to another sect and it kept going like that. But I keep saying, the same thing is happening here. I had a toothache once, and that was as a teenager. I had a toothache, and immediately I remember kneeling and praying, and I got an instant healing. And when I went to the other religion, when I prayed, I got the same sort of thing. So then I realized that no matter where I am, God is. But I was doubtful of that. So that's where it started.
Okay, okay. So understanding that and knowing that many times, many of us come from various religions or a religious-based upbringing. What introduced you to spirituality, if I were to term spirituality differently than religion? What introduced you to it?
My rock bottom moments. My rock bottom moments is what truly brought me to spirituality. And I had many of those, but in recent times, I think being in a position and being in a country because I migrated, I think that aspect of being rock bottom, feeling like I didn't have anything at the time, that's how I felt. My daughter since told me, but Mom, we always have something. But I felt at the time I didn't have nothing. I felt at the time practically it was just myself and God, and I felt that that was not enough. You know, and having to navigate these moments, having to navigate those times where I truly feel that I was not enough, not good enough, didn't have enough, and all those enough, not enoughness, that led me to true spirituality. And I also want to say this very within recent time again, coming upon, and I must say this, Enolia, your ESA program had truly, yes, I had the whole spiritual aspect of things. I knew God and I knew certain aspect of myself, but coming in contact with the EAS program truly brought those pieces together and brought to me that wholeness, that confidence sitting, because it goes and it went and come with me. There were moments when I felt the wholeness, but that conviction and confidence and poise that I have now and sitting with spirituality came from doing that EAS program. And I just had to say that now.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know what Reverend Joslyn is referring to, she's talking about the Empower, Achieve, Succeed through Self-Mastery program, where we go through 8 to 10 weeks of really truly understanding what it means to self-reflect and what it means to leverage the tools that we already possess within us, not external to us, to master ourselves. So we're saying, understanding that part of yourself has been formed by the religious base and part of it, the spirituality. And we kind of talked a little bit about the differentiation, just understanding that what we hold in the spirituality is just a lot of self-reflection. It has nothing to do with anything external to us. So how do you hold visions, and how would you share with somebody else to hold a vision for themselves?
In order to, for me, and holding vision for myself, I had to truly tap into my inner power. I had to realize that nothing that I have comes from the outside. Everything that I have is within me. All that I am is within me. And when I got to that point of realizing that, that is how I begin to see my future, begin to shape my future, begin to realize that I can truly create from that space of wholeness And that space of knowing that whatever I'm looking for is already inside of me. And so that's how I would encourage someone to begin to go about setting goals for themselves or setting intentions or whatever else that they may want to achieve in their life. Is truly looking inward, truly recognizing that you are enough and everything you need is inside of you. That again, I got from the EAS program, because one of the issues I had as a leader, and I felt that I had to be this perfect person, and I had to have this perfect environment to do things and to be. And that is so far from the truth. So it's nothing to do with anything outside of you, but everything to do with what is inside of you. I hope that makes sense.
So understanding that everything to do within ourselves, and I love going into these kind of conversations too, right? Because you're a very spiritual person, which is that for me, the inside represents the universe within me. It's vast, it's huge, it vibrates, it's beyond this physical container. And when you walk into the room, people can feel you and they can encounter you because they feel that energy that you are projecting outside of yourself. And when you are there, you are really truly experiencing the fullness of yourself. So tell us about that fullness and that creativity. How does that help you focus in on what you want to do in that creative space when you're holding a vision for yourself to accomplish something?
One of the things that helped me a lot with that in terms of holding vision and being in that creative space is, again, knowing that it's already there, and truly when I got an alignment in terms of knowing that what I want is already seeking me, what I want is already prepared for me. It becomes the fear of not getting it, holding on to that attachment of wanting something that I feel I don't have is no longer there. So for instance, I'm going to give some examples in my life of how this is working out, even at this moment. Now, physically, when I look at things around me, I don't see what I'm looking for. But when I look inside, I realize that I have everything. And I'm going to say this, but being a spiritual person, being a minister, getting involved with meditation, getting involved with writing and speaking and all those things. Now that I knew, I felt that need to do that. I felt that need speak out but I didn't have that means at the time. I didn't see that physical thing. I didn't see the people. I didn't see the stage. All of those things, I didn't see it. But having that knowing inside of me and simply been willing to just step out a little. So with the meditation, at the time when I started, I didn't know head nor tail about, in fact, because I came from my religious upbringing actually told me that meditation is not the right thing to do. It was spooky, it was not godly, and a whole host of things that some of the things that I have been and taught over the years. So there was no way that I was going to go there. But again, having that knowing and tapping in, it always came. And it simply started for me with the 1 minute, the 2 minute, just mingling with nature and observing and allowing life to take place, just being. It eventually came. And as you mentioned, you begin to experience that vast universe within you. Yes? So that's one aspect in terms of the meditation and how my life became in alignment and how I started to realize my dream. So that's one aspect of it. And then there came the teaching and how it came about. One, I wanted, someone shared with me about having your spiritual name. And just one day it came and my spiritual name told me that it was about meditation. And everything that I needed for meditation came for me. So even in terms of teaching it, a whole course, everything, it just came. Now, there are certain things I had to do in terms of asking, but I didn't have to put out any finances. It wasn't a hassle. I didn't have to beat up myself for it. So that's one aspect. The next aspect came from, in terms of, and I'm talking about things that happened recently. I can go way back into time in terms of aligning and creating and so on. But the next aspect for me came with my food and nutrition and wanting, as African descent, wanting to learn more about my culture as an African, and all those things that goes with it. And as a food and nutrition teacher, I saw the progressiveness of the start as to how God line up, I say God, or we can say the universe line up things for me. And it was never lost. So from day one, way back in secondary school, we're talking about over 30-something years now. I didn't want to do food and nutrition at the time because back then, the principal was talking about you preparing meals for your husband. And I was that kind of young lady then saying, well, who want to prepare meals for men? My mom sent and my parents sending me to school just to learn to cook, to prepare meals for her husband? Hell no. So I said no. So I decided I was going to go to a physics class. Mind you, I did not like maths very much. So going into the class and recognizing that I didn't like the maths pushed me back into the food and nutrition arena. But when I got there, I had a teacher at the time who was well-versed, she had what I was looking for. So she wasn't a teacher who was teaching me back then. Some people in my environment would call it pots and pans. She was teaching me about the science of the subject. She was teaching, she embraced everything in the environment. So I began to see it not just as, I saw it as an art, but also as a science. And that at the time helped propel me. So that's one aspect. And she groomed me and everything else in regards to that in that area. Now, moving forward, again, I'm just showing people how they can be guided into their life purpose and creating the dream. Mm-hmm. Simply by tapping in. So I again felt at the time all my friends were moving into the direction of getting jobs and choosing a career path that appeared to be very lucrative then. And that same teacher, when I went to share with her, this is what I want to do, she said, but honey, this is where I see you lined up. And when she speaks it's aligned with me. So to move quickly into this, Again, I have been that kind of person who could be a little bit indecisive. And I tend to want to go with the crowd at times, at the time. And so one time I said, I started to teach, and my friends were all moving to different parts of the world, and they were going to study other things. And I felt that I didn't want to be a teacher anymore. And what I always did was tap into my elders. And into my elder, one again, a lady of great wisdom and what we in our world talk great education. So she had that, and she said to me, "Joss, I can get you a job right now. I can help you to go to another country to study right now. But first, let's see, I'm going to let you do that aptitude test." And she let me do that test, and about a day, 2 days, we got the result, and she said to me, "Everything here lined up and said that you are a teacher." And again, it resonated. And I stayed, and everything began to fall in place. And I can give you account after account. But in all of this, I'm saying to the individual who is waiting for that physical manifestation of things, it's not about the physical thing. It's about that knowing on the inside. And as you begin to know and follow that path, you will truly get all the things that you need. And in recent times, that came to me through a taste of African heritage cooking classes. So I can go on and on, but let me stop here.
It's okay, it's okay. So understanding that and knowing that you're a woman that brings many, many things to the table and many skills to the table. When I say many things to the table, talk to us about a couple of your programs. And I know that you have like 2 or 3 different programs, because I know you for your aromatherapy. I know you from your nutrition and your cooking. I know you from your counseling and your healing. Talk to us a little bit about your programs.
Okay, I'm going to share a couple in terms of I have what I call the Sacred Self-Care Program.
What they are, how you work with people, what people can expect. Tell us a little bit about your programs.
Great. So the Sacred Self-Care Program is a program, one of the programs that actually stemmed from my rock bottom moment. And within that program, of course, you will get it's a combination of everything that a woman would need to take care of herself. So you have a bit of the aromatherapy, you have a bit of the flower essences, you have a bit of the crystals, a bit of meditation, of course, which is a core bit of the program, and the food and nutrition aspect, the nutrition aspect of that program. And there's also a bit of self-empowerment within that program. So that's what the Sacred Self-Care Program entails. If a woman gets into this, it's a total immersion of getting to know who you are by tapping into the natural things around you, tapping into the energies of the moon, tapping into using the senses that is appropriate for you and your self-care at the time. So that's it. And I say with that program, what it helps you to do is to tap into yourself, to regain your confidence, to clarify your diet, and ultimately to thrive. So that's one program. One of the other program I have is the Taste of African Heritage. That program is a 6 weeks nutrition series where you get to not only cook the delicious meals, but it goes to your health. In recent times, we have had our African heritage getting a bad rap. a bad rap in terms of folks will talk about soul food, and the soul food being the food wrapped up with all the cholesterol and everything that is not too healthy for us. But within that taste of African heritage, we get to recognize the true essence of our ancestors. And we learn within that program that the diet was extremely healthy. It was steeped in plant-based. Whenever they use meat, it was more of a ceremonial nature or for a little bit of flavoring rather than just having it like that. And so that program literally will help you to learn more about your heritage. And I want to put a plug in there saying that every one of us came from that background. So it is a program for everyone. And so you get to do that. And of course, part of it is to create interaction within the people. We want to share, we want to hear about other people and their food and their culture and so, but ultimately is to help you to have a healthy meal and to develop an appreciation for healthy foods. Yes?
Yes, yes. That's beautiful. And then talk to us a little bit more about your coaching program, because I know that you have a very, very clear line of sight in terms of your coaching program and the teaching methodology that you use in terms of your acronyms, a little bit of everything. So let's share that too.
Well, Enolia, one, I want to plug in because I really want to, in my coaching program, I want to incorporate your ESA. I want to incorporate that in the program. The reason why, when I started, I had all this thing about own your personal power and all those buzzwords that we say, I had it. But when I did your program, yes, and I want to really expose people to that method. And if I could speak to what truly got to me, I'm a very expressive person. And one of the things that helped me within your program, because it takes into me all the modality of learning. And one of the things, of course, I talked about before I even get into the meat of the ESC program for me was having every week a beautiful song to open up my spirit and to keep me flowing with the topic, to keep me flowing with whatever tools that we were using in regards to opening up those pathways so I can get my healing. So that was one aspect I just wanted to put it. That had me going, that music, that singing, ooh boy. So that's, so getting to the meat of that program, the EAS, talking about mastering oneself. I want to tell leaders, I want to tell folks in general, because lots of folks think, you know, I've done that, I've done whatever program I've done. I have my PhD, I have my master's, or I might be at home doing whatever I'm doing, and I don't need that program. And I'm going to be bold enough to say to you, if you're having struggles along certain areas in your life in regards to your self-development, self-improvement, repeating cycles, and a whole host of other things, then that program is the program for you. I'm going to be bold enough to say that. I myself, I'm still pursuing my PhD. I am a trained metaphysician and all those things. And the program that I'm doing is a beautiful program. But the EAS program, and sorry if I look at I'm selling, I know that didn't ask me to sell no program for her.
No, I didn't.
But it is so good that I can't stop talking about it. So from that, doing all those other programs, which is good, and I'm still working inside other programs, but that ESE program touched a chord. It touched my core. And it helped me to truly, as a leader, truly realize the wealth that I had, the things that I was doing. And sometimes when those dark energies come, I hope I'm not losing people with that. Some folks may call it, other people's opinion. You may call it whatever you call it, those areas, those struggles, those challenges, when they come and they surround you and they're doing as if they're going to take you out. That program truly helps you to develop what it takes to stand in your power, to stand being the master of yourself. You get those tools that help you to not form attachments to the things that is not yours. I remember doing my last speech with Expression of Humanity, where I spoke to stories. So a lot of time we come with stories, and our mind tells us a lot of things that is not ours, a lot of things that it's not for us. And so that program helped you to take yourself away from those stories, to dispel those stories and not form attachment to it. That program helped you to realize that what you think is struggles and challenges in your life, they are not. They are just another way, another tool to help you get to where you are going. And so when those challenges come, you no longer look at them as things to run away from or things to make you suffer or things. You embrace them and you realize that you can work through them using the tools that this program gives you. So this is what my program, I want to ask Enolia to help me to share it within my program so folks can truly get that freedom and liberation they're looking for and truly come into owning their power. Yes, so.
I thank you. I thank you so much for just your honest feedback and your honesty about it, because I think that that's the most important thing. A lot of times we say things that people want us to say, but one of the things about the Empower to Succeed method, just so that people know, it's about standing in your truth, whatever that truth is. And everybody doesn't have to like it. You're not there to please everybody else. It's about standing in your truth, owning what you say, and truly just like, if this is it, this is it. And it doesn't matter if you're the only stone that's standing still and everything else is flowing downhill. If you're the one that stands still, you're going to stand in your truth, and you're going to feel good about it. And you're going to feel strong about it and courageous about it. So it saved my life in so many different ways. When I wanted to transition and I was so worried about so many other people's opinions and so many other people's thought processes of how they think of me and the people pleasing side, I let go of any type of people pleasing side. It's not about what others project onto me, but about how I feel and trust in myself. So yes, I thank you. I thank you so, so much. And see, this is supposed to be a plug about your program. So,
I
can't so much.
To programs without sharing what took me to where I am now, because I mean, the ES program is truly what brought me to have that confidence and so on.
Yeah. It's funny because I always look at it as what it's like a foundation to stand on, and you can build everything on top of it. You can build everything on top of it because it's a mindset, and you can stand on it, and you can stand solidly, and you can stand strong, and you can stand trusting yourself, and you You can stand valuing yourself, and you can stand loving the totality of who you are. When you see yourself in the mirror, you can stand on all of it. And then you can make your decision assuredly and courageously and just move forward. So that's a beautiful thing for anyone. So, Reverend Joslyn, how did you embark on being a reverend? Because there's so many beautiful modalities you encapsulate in your being. And how did the calling of the ordained minister come to fruition?
That calling was always there. And again, that calling came from being in church. I came upon it truly and realized it when I was around my late 20s, getting involved again into the church. I was in church 24/7. I was in church, building then. And of course, I was doing my praying and all the other things that goes with all those other religious ritual. I was doing that. But that calling, when I recognized it, I think truly was from my son's passing. Kwame, I was in my 20s then. It came through because I was doing those churchy things, and I lost my son as I was in service. And so I knew about it there. And of course, in those vulnerable moments, everybody was telling you about it. But I still, again, I'm someone who tend to, unconsciously, I run away from it. But your purpose will chase you. Trust me. Because that's what happened. My purpose chasing me. And the realization in terms of truly embracing even the title of Reverend, because it was something I wrestled with. I wrestled with that title. I didn't want the title. And for me, Reverend, embracing the title of Reverend and putting it out there was saying, because, I want to put this on the table in Olia. A title doesn't make us. That title, we can take it away anytime. And I just want to put that there. So I embraced that title simply because of service to humanity. And the minute time I stopped wrestling with it, and I started taking in the knowledge, and I started embracing it and being of service and putting myself out there. People came. So I remember the very first time I put it out on social media, and immediately someone came into my inbox and started sharing with me, and they were going through their awakening process. And so that's the reason why I embraced it and hold on to it and share. It wasn't about the being and just sharing myself with and being of service to people. So I don't know if that answered the question, because I get excited over those things, but.
No, but I think you did answer the question, because we all have something that draws us to it. And the passing of a child, I can't even imagine that. So my heart goes out to you. And I'm so sorry that had to take place in your life. But there's so many different things that call us. And a lot of times what happens is that we ignore our soul's calling. And when the soul, when it calls you from a soul level, it'll call you in your 15 years old, then it'll call you again in your 20 years old, and it'll call you again in your 30 years old, and it'll call you again and you're 50 years old, and you go, why am I still feeling this? Because you've been ignoring it. You've been ignoring it, and it's coming from the most sacred place within you. And so it's trying to tell you to change your life and embrace that calling. And many of us ignore that calling, and we do what's practical, and we do what's necessary, and we do all of these different things, but we don't do what our calling is, or our soul's calling, or our heart's desire. And then we miss something. We live a whole life and miss something. Go ahead, please.
No, I was saying what you're saying is so true, because it was something I run away from. I thought, that was my private, these are my private stuff. And of course, I was concerned about my finances and how I would live and how things is, I didn't, to be quite truthful, I didn't want it. I loved it, I wanted, but didn't want it.
Right.
Yes, but being in that vulnerable moment with losing Kwame, and seeing and feeling that peace, which truly surpassed on the understanding. And also in the moment, because I've seen our Creator, the universe, give me great joy in that moment. And in that moment, I was preaching. In that moment, I was encouraging. In that moment of pain and hurt and loss, I was doing everything that a minister was doing. And people were getting their healing in so many different ways. And so that was the beginning of it.
Yeah. So there are many people going through a spiritual awakening now. And what does that mean? It means that you're acknowledging the fact that you have something on your conscience, that there's more than what you've been living. There's more ways of being a better version of yourself. There's a better way of how you lead yourself through your life and how you navigate through life. There's a better way of how you're choosing to live your life. There's a better way of how you're representing yourself when you speak, and how you manage your emotions, and how you manage what you perceive, all of it. But many people don't know where to begin. They just know that they want a better life. What would you say to those people?
I would say, in terms of awakening and how you do things, it simply means that there are, as some folks say, we all have the power of choice. We have that power to choose paths that will bring us joy, peace, and we have the power to choose paths that will bring us suffering and darkness, doom and gloom. And with your awakening, most times there comes those struggles and those challenges and the discomfort. And in the middle, in being in this discomfort, being in places where you have to make choices, that is stemmed from the awakening. So you are now, you would feel that pull to, instead of that outward, those outward things, those material things. And I'm not speaking to not having material things, because we need that, and that is an integral part of us living. But what you'd realize in your awakening, what brings you true fulfillment, what brings you true satisfaction, what brings you joy and peace, those things, the happiness that you are looking for, comes from sitting with yourself. It comes from the inside, as we keep saying, tapping into that inner power. That's part of the awakening. So when you see the struggles, when the unhappiness, when the dissatisfaction, and just to give some practical examples in terms of dissatisfaction. So for someone who's in a relationship and you find it's not going anywhere, or you're going around in circles with those relationships, when those things happen, that's where you are able now to make the choices and to sit in stillness. and realize that this is happening for a reason. It is happening to make you a quote unquote better individual. I don't want to say better, I want to go wrong that again. It gets you to come in alignment with the exact person that you are. Yes? You become that person you came here to be. And you can only do that in sitting in some form of stillness. It doesn't have to be like a monk, but it could be interacting with nature. Yes, so I want to stop here.
I know that we could keep going and going and going. So how can people get in contact with you? How can they reach out to you, engage you for your services, learn about your services, and learn and join you for some of the events that you hold?
Well, I'm on all the social media platforms. I tend to favor Facebook. So you would find me on Facebook as Reverend Joslyn Farray Pierre, or on my page as Reverend Joslyn, the Intuitive Wellbeing Educator. Also on LinkedIn as Reverend Joslyn. I do have a website. It's a work in progress. It's www.reverendjoslyn.link. And I'm also on IG as the Intuitive Wellbeing Institute. And I'm working on reviving my YouTube channel because it has been down and I've been facilitating with it a little bit. So you'll find me on YouTube as Reverend Joslyn Farray Pierre also. Just to make a little plugging for the YouTube channel, I will be getting on board with doing a couple of webinars to start teaching folks a little bit on everything as it in regards to self-care. Yes?
Yes. Thank you so, so much. And what I'll do is I'll grab all of that information from you and make sure that it's in the description for this interview. Reverend Joslyn Farray Pierre, I want to thank you so, so much for coming on the program. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your thoughtfulness and your heart. And any last words you want to say to our audience?
Well, I want to say to you it was a pleasure, and I also want to say to you thank you for having me on the program. To our audience, I want to say Enola once said, and I think it's on her website too, dream a beautiful dream or you will dream. And to me, that means know who you are, get to know who you are, truly. And who you are is not any title. So get to know who you are, get to be the master of yourself. And you would realize that in knowing who you are and being the master of yourself, you can create an entire world and get the happiness and the true joy and peace and satisfaction and fulfillment from life. Despite whatever else is going on in your life, I love to say, despite the dark and dull circumstances that you might be seeing around you, you can truly enjoy and embrace a fulfilled lifestyle. So that's what I want to leave with each and everyone. Get to know yourself.
Well, thank you. And on that note, this has been another The Infinite Way from Spirituality to Humanity episode with Reverend Joslyn Farray Pierre. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.